Jimmy, my emails are so boring.
We came, we saw, he died.
I don't want to see him impeached. I want to see him in prison.
On this Memorial Day, as our nation honors its unbroken line of fallen heroes, to see many of them in the audience here today.
We understand that a plane has crashed into the World Trade Center. We don't know anything more than that.
CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person.
And I'm going to give you a question. You are fake news.
Everyone, this is Jazz, your friendly computer assistant, and the producer of this ridiculous show. Well, before we get started, we have a couple of rules to go over. Absolutely no doxing anyone, and no threats at all. Also, no talking about anyone's children. Other than that, have a great time. And now, the one you've all been waiting for, the Jew with all the shackles. Your host, Steve Pinder.
Holy cow. What a nightmare getting this thing going. Out of all the days to have this problem, I have it today. Go figure. I can't even begin to describe what I just went through trying to get this thing going. I mean, I'm resetting everything. I haven't had this issue since I bought the new computer. So how does it sound? Because I actually had to change a lot of stuff in how I go live. For whatever reason, it did not want to link into YouTube. It didn't want to do a lot of things. But please tell me it's sounding okay. yeah, we're having problems on... yeah, I don't even want to go... I don't even want to say the word. I have a problem saying that word. I'm going to try to get our guest in here. Man, I'm all kind of flabbergasted right now, so you're going to hear some noise as I'm setting this up. Okay, let's see. Okay, here we go. I'm going to try to get a call going here. Hold on. Hopefully we'll get this going. Okay. Oh my God, man! What I just went through to get this to work. Holy cow! I bought a brand new computer earlier this year, and like at the beginning of the year, and I haven't had any issues. And all of a sudden, I had issues. So Why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Name is Red from the YouTube channel Red's Rhetoric. I just record rocket launches, debunk flat Earth on the internet. Been doing this for a long amount of time, like maybe 4 years, maybe something like that. Started out just doing basic debunking and then started branching out from there, doing more in-depth debunking, and just been sticking with it ever since.
Okay. So if we have time, now that I've wasted nearly half an hour, if we have time, I'd like to do a little bit of talk about that. But to give you a little background about me, I am not a flat earther, just so you know. But ever since I was 12 years old, because I am an artist and an avid photographer, there's been so many red flags with the moon landing that I've had a problem believing it. I started questioning it at 12 years old. I'm 52, so it's 40 years of me questioning this. And by 19, I was absolutely convinced we got lied to. We never went there. So before, and I know you're going to want to know the issues that I had. For the longest time, I've had issues with the Van Allen radiation belt or the Van Allen belt. Now finding out that it's mostly charged particles that kind of quelled that. But I'm having problems with some of the camera footage on the moon. Some I don't have problems with, but some I do. The lighting, because like I said, I'm an artist. I've studied lighting my whole life. I'm a photographer. I have some issues with some of the doctored photographs that we know are doctored. What would you say to that with you knowing what, those questions?
The Russians, I guess, were also in on it because they could check our work. And they weren't the only ones. The entire world was actively checking our work in real time.
Yeah.
And not only that, but you have photographs, but we also have audio. And the thing about audio and having a conversation like the Nixon phone call is the background noise. It was backfeeding back into the astronauts' headsets. The delay that we hear on that phone call is consistent with the phone call taking place extremely far away from the Earth.
Oh,
and
okay.
So not only that, but you also have to take into account that if this was faked, that they had to do a lot of faking. By that, I mean they had to fake a massive rocket that launched not once, not twice, but multiple times in front of a lot of people. And so they're like, okay, well, we're going to spend money on this gigantic rocket. And then instead of just leaving it to the giant rocket, which has all of our things on it, we're going to spend money on a giant rocket and money paying off the Russians and money paying off the Australians and money paying off the English and money paying off pretty much the entire world for that matter. Hire a film crew, hire actors, hire editors, have equipment that quite frankly didn't exist back in the 1960s, but screw it, we'll invent it just for the sole sake of faking it to the populace. Honestly, I think that it takes a lot more faith to believe that we could actually pull off one of the greatest hoax of all time. Meanwhile, the United States is struggling to hide a blowjob, and the United States is also struggling to hide the fact that Russia actually had some involvement with our last election. If we are this bad at keeping secrets, then I struggle to believe that we could keep one of the biggest secrets of all time a secret ever since the 1960s. Doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay. Well, and I understand that. It's believe me, for me to even fathom this, it's like, oh my God, how could they pull this off? I mean, so many people would have to be in on this, but then how do we explain some of the lighting? Now, we have converging shadows, which shouldn't happen, but that being said, I was just talking to a friend before the stream. I don't know what the light from the sun, the effects it might have in the zero atmosphere. I know how the sun works in our globe, in our with the protection we have from the ozone layer and everything else. I understand how light works here, how gravity actually can bend light here, but I don't know how lighting works on a surface that's that reflective as the moon. So that's where I'm struggling here with the lighting and how it was done.
You're referring to parallel shadows, and
Yes.
unfortunately, shadows will not always look parallel because it depends not on the light source, but on the terrain that the light source is being casted on. For example, if you go out into into like the city where you have a whole bunch of curb steps and signage and
Yeah.
lampposts and stuff like that, look at the shadows that they cast. At certain angles, they will look like they are not parallel. In fact, one of the most famous examples of this was when the Mythbusters actually made their own replica of the lunar surface with the right rocks, the contours, and everything like that with a single light source, and the shadows were not parallel. And I can also find examples of this right around my house, in the city. Regardless where you are, you can see constant examples of this. Now, if you're looking at it from a different angle, then you'll find out that those shadows are parallel, but because of the change in terrain, they will look not parallel to you personally. But simply shifting your perspective will fix that problem. Astronauts weren't instructed to fix their perspective on shadows. Astronauts were instructed to do actual science, not worry about what conspiracy theorists would be thinking about them
Yeah.
50 years from when they actually went to the moon.
Yeah. I can understand that. But like I said, I know what it takes to create a converging shadow. Like I said, I've been an artist my whole life. I'm a professional graphic designer. That's been my trade for over 20 years now. And I'm a professional photographer as well. I do that it's part of my job. So to create a converging shadow is a little more difficult. I mean, the light source is extremely far away, but then again, I don't know how the light disperses in space. It may be completely different than here without the atmosphere.
It's relatively the same. And in every single image that you have, you'll see shadows disappear into distance because of the law of perspective.
Yeah.
Now, perspective will make those shadows appear to be crossing over in the distance, but none of the shadows that we see in all of them actually do cross over.
Well, that's perspective in general. That
Correct.
things do converge, but at the same time, for something that's only say 10, 15 feet tall, you're not going to see that well. I mean, if you have a building, like when you look up at a building, say you're looking up at a 50-story building from the ground, you can see a perspective on those buildings where there will be a converging point way off in the distance. The same thing happens when you're drawing a cityscape and you're creating the perspective lines for a cityscape. You're going to have one left and right, and you're going to have one, center. You're going to have one up and down too. So, I mean, from wherever you are, there's going to be, 4 points of perspective that are disappearing. You may not be able to notice them, but they're there.
If you go into, like, for example, Walsingham Park down here in Florida, and you go there in the morning, there's a place where you can walk through a whole bunch of tall pine trees, and they have converging, or they appear to be converging shadows in the distance. But there's only one light source, the sun. It's the same exact thing. But instead of using trees, you would use astronauts, the lunar lander, the rover, or, for example, the legs of the limb, whatever the case may be, whatever is actually there to cast a shadow to begin with. But just because we have shadows that appear to do funky things on a surface that by its own nature is funky, it's not exactly maintained by anybody or anything. You're going to have shadows that appear to do some stuff that may not make sense when you first look at it. But every single image that we are getting from the moon shows stuff that can easily be replicated here on Earth with the sun, which is a single light source. Everything. The Mythbusters demonstrate one of the best photographs where we saw shadows that appear to deviate by a 30-degree angle. But that 30-degree angle was only via a single line of sight, a single perspective point. But then when they actually replicated the contours of the surface, and while using a single light source, they were able to get that shot perfectly. It matched perfectly.
Now, I understand that, say you have a flat surface that's going away from you, and the surface somewhere along the line does a pitch to the left or to the right. And you may not be able to see, this happens when we golf. Okay, I don't know if you golf, but I used to golf a lot. And when you see the green, you see a pitch. You don't notice it until you get closer to the ground. Now, I understand that will bend the shadow along with the pitch of the ground. When the a ground that seems to be straight, is maybe halfway down, it starts to slightly pitch to the left or the right, you will get a slight deviation in the shadow. Now, that being said, when I do photography and I have my umbrella rigs up, I have to constantly set up a third light source to kill the shadow. And in the defense, and this is probably going against me, their lighting kind of proves that there's only one light source. I'm just trying to understand how it's doing that on such a short, like I said, you said it, the surface of the moon is kind of funky. Obviously, I've never been there, neither of you, and so we can only go by what we see and by what the astronauts have told us. My biggest concern, and this is going to sound weird, is that I've been 40 years of questioning this, and all of a sudden all this information is coming my way, and I've gotten a lot from you. I've gotten a lot from another guy that was on here, a good friend of mine, who went through the Air Force Academy, was on a couple of weeks back, and you guys are coming close to convincing me. And I think at this point, I'm afraid to say yeah, because, God, 40 years of saying no. And it's like, I'm like, man, I hope if I switch stances on this, I hope I'm right. Because, I mean, like I said, I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot from the input I'm getting from people, like I said, from you and from this other guy, and I think I'm heading in that direction. But I guess I'm going to have to do some more experimenting myself because, like I said, I set up a lot of stuff with light and shadow, and I like to look at it, and maybe I can replicate this now that we've talked about it. I'm not sure, but I think you've had some of the better examples that have that are swaying me a lot, I have to say.
There's also one big one, and that is the retroreflectors that we left on the moon. There's actually a few observatories in the United States where you can actually go on tours, and they will do the measurement with you there. So if those retroreflectors are there, the retroreflectors that were left there by the astronauts during the Apollo program, you should get a signal back.
Yeah.
You go there and you have them demonstrate them getting a return signal.
Mm-hmm.
And there you go. You just have something. You just interacted directly with a piece of equipment that was left there from the Apollo program.
Well, I mean, that being said, I mean, I'm sure we've sent stuff there. I mean, not to sound like the sour egg here, but that would be easy to shoot something up there and say, hey, we have something on the moon. But that being said, there's one convincing piece that really, really got me last time we talked about this on this stream, and I believe it was Buzz Aldrin's jump from the ground to about 5 feet up to that first rung on the ladder. Now, a lot of times we've sped up the video of them, walking on the surface, and it looks like a normal walking pace. But that jump really, really struck me. I'm sure you know the one I'm talking about, the video of him having to jump to that first rung on the ladder because it wasn't extended all the way down. Do you know what the video I'm talking about?
No, my forte is just flat Earth, but moon landing is not really my thing.
Yeah.
So I would be honest with you and say I'm not familiar with the footage that you are referring to.
That footage freaked me out. I'm like, man, that is a tough one. They didn't have the technology to fake that back then, so that was one for the books. So. I want to ask you a couple of questions now about your stream. How often do you, and I've been on your stream before, and I've caught you live a few times. How often do you get to debate the flat earthers on your stream?
It's become a lot hard to get flat earthers because I'm kind of infamous. They don't want to talk to me.
Yeah, I kind of, I gotta say you're kind of the flat earth destroyer. I mean, that's the best way to, like I said, I've watched you just tear some apart, and it's also made me do a lot of I've looked at a lot of videos and stuff, and I have one that I'm going to show here in a little while of a balloon flight that happened here in North Texas, and it went up to 90,000 feet. And the interesting thing about that was, of course, we know that the GoPros have a fisheye lens, so it's going to make everything look very round. But what people don't understand is a fisheye lens distorts more towards the edge, and it doesn't distort smack dab in the middle of it. At least not horizontally. It does vertically, but not horizontally. So what I did was I took footage from under 1,000 feet, and I screenshot it, went frame by frame till I got everything nice and level, because, you know, this thing's swinging around as it's going up. And what I did was from there is I drew a line in Photoshop showing the curvature of the fisheye lens at just under 1,000 feet. And then at 90,000 feet, I got the horizon line on the same spot on the camera, so it was at the exact same distortion from the lens, and I took another screenshot, and I placed them over each other, and the difference between the curvature from 1,000 feet to 90,000 feet was astronomically different. Astronomically different. It's very, very easy to see that there's more of a curvature. And even at 90,000 feet, the fisheye lens will not curve as much as it will on the ground. Distance takes curve away from a fisheye lens. But look, I had one guy that I went on, a guy called Flat Earth Forum. I went on his stream, and I questioned. I said, look, dude, I was up in a MiG-21 at 52,000 feet. I looked up in a very crystal clear canopy, full canopy all the way around me, not a fisheye lens, and you could see the curvature of the Earth. And he went off. I was banned from his channel within a few minutes. He called me a liar and everything else.
Yeah,
So
but the same thing, the same logic that flat earthers apply to the geometric fact of our planet is also the same type of arguments that they will use to also doubt the moon landings too. So when you're questioning the moon landings, you know, the apple doesn't really fall far from the tree when it comes to flat Earth, because it started small, something like that. Not saying that you're equivalent to them. What I'm saying is that the same skepticism that you would have for flat Earth is the same type of skepticism that needs to be applied, not to the moon landings being faked, but for the moon landings, or moon landings being true, but for the moon landings being faked. You need to have skepticism of every single piece of conspiratard nonsense that comes out that wants to point to the moon landings being fake. Because keep in mind, let's hypothetically say that you had a question that I didn't know the answer to. Let's say I had no answer to the shadow problem. Let's say I had no answer to the film curling problem or the lunar regolith problem. Let's say I had no answer to the visor reflection problem or the transmission problem or the Van Allen radiation belt problem or the launch problem or the pogo suppression problem or whatever other problem that I've seen countless times from the Apollo deniers. There is a lot more to show that it is a round Earth, just like there is a lot more to show that we actually did go to the moon, that it outweighs whatever one piece of information that we don't quite have the answer to. So you got to weigh the odds. Given all the information you have here, right now, given that we have not only sent the Apollo program to the moon, but also more recently the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, where you can go on Google and literally zoom into each individual landing site. What has more going for it? The idea that we actually went to the moon and that we weren't able to pay off the Russians, which at the time we were having a tremendous dick measuring contest with, or that some guy by the name of Conspiracy Nut 101 says on the internet. There's a lot of misinformation out there. I agree.
Yeah. And
I will also agree that the government does lie to us on a constant, continuous basis. But the thing is that there are limitations to what they can and cannot do. And here's the thing. We have seen examples of those limitations every single day. The Monica Lewinsky thing, that was a clear example of their limitations. The Russian involvement in our elections, that was a clear example of their limitation. It goes deep into the actual heart of the problem, which is, what is the government capable of doing? They're not capable of lying on this scale, but they were capable, and plus had the prerequisite madness to launch people to the moon and return them to the Earth safely. They had the madness, they had the drive, because I'll be damned if the Russians were going to beat me type of attitude they had.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can understand that. And like I said, it's something that I've spent so much time denying that it's really tough for me to switch gears, and that's what I'm really, really trying to do, is switch gears on the moon landing. And that's why I invite as many people as I can on here to really talk to me about it. And I have some friends that have done the same, and I really appreciate you doing this. I really do. You have a way of deciphering things that I really appreciate and I respect, especially for someone that's probably half my age. It's kind of embarrassing for me a little bit, I have to say. So, I'm old. I'm set in my ways. I'm 52, so...
I'm just a Florida kid that lived very close to the Kennedy Space Center.
Okay, that's really cool, and lucky for you. I remember when I was a little kid watching on a black and white screen. When I say little kid, I'm very, very good memory. So I can remember being 4 years old. I remember seeing them splashing down in the ocean coming back from the moon. So, of course, we were watching on a black and white TV and such, and now I've really aged myself, but yeah, I mean, I remember that, and like I said, I started questioning it at 12 because I was seriously studying art and have been my whole life. So that was the whole reason, and without a lot of information back then, it was easy for me to take on that. By the time I was 19, like I said, I completely said, oh, hell no, we didn't go there. And it's been one of those things that I haven't ventured to challenge myself against probably until the last 5 or so years. And mostly because of the whole flat earth thing that's really come up. And I'm like, really? They think the earth's flat? And then I tell myself, well, Steve, you don't believe we went to the moon. How bad can that be? That kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I've been really challenging myself. And, it's at the point right now where I'm probably ready to say, yeah, it looks like there's enough evidence to say we've gone to the moon. It's getting there. It's just really tough for me to switch gears. But I don't know how much time you have, because we did get a late start, and I don't know if I can get it on your screen and the Hangout also, and then, well, I could do it. It's just going to be very small for the broadcast. But I'd like to show you some of the footage that I've gotten, and if that's possible. If you're watching it in the Hangout, I can put it on the Hangout screen, but that's going to be very small in my screen. But if I was to just put it, you would have to watch it on the replay.
No, I know what we're going for. I'll just go ahead and just comment on it now, because it is getting close to 11 o'clock my time.
Yeah.
But the balloon thing, there's one thing that GoPro cameras have, and it's center frame.
Yeah.
If you have grid paper, and you take a GoPro camera and you point it at that grid paper, if you're seeing the center of the frame going from left to right, those lines aren't curved. They're perfectly straight.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So if you have the horizon occupy that center of frame and it's straight, then you have evidence for a flat earth. But if it is bowed in any way, shape, or form, then you have evidence for a curved earth. That's another way of doing it. But another way of doing it would be to see horizon drop. There's a gentleman by the name of Sean Hufford, who has a drone, and I did the same observation where he took his drone up to a certain altitude and waited for the sun to rise. When the sun was just visible, he dropped altitude and it disappeared, and he could watch it rise again. He filmed multiple sunrises.
I saw that video. You played it on your stream. I saw that video.
That's the demonstration of the geometry of our planet. Likewise, when I went to Rainton Shores, Florida, and took that same drone, not his drone, but the same model of drone, up to 1,638 feet, you could actually see the horizon drop as altitude was gained.
Yeah, I remember that, because once it corrected its level, you could see that the horizon line had gone down.
Yes. So this is, again, another consequence of the geometry of our planet. The Tampa Bay skyline observation, Lake Pontchartrain observation. These are all observations that anyone can do that show the curvature of our Earth. And not only this, but what demonstrates curvature is not that it can be observed in the United States. It can be observed everywhere, which is why we have people all around the globe, including in the Southern Hemisphere, that can make similar observations in their neck of the woods and see those signs of curvature. They're present everywhere. So if we have curvature here, 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 and here, all around that globe, then obviously we're dealing with a sphere, because that curvature never stops. If it's always curving, it will eventually curve around on itself.
Yes.
You know, geometry is not the flat earther's friend, which is why the flat earther wants to try and deny geometry. They want to try and reinvent geometry, just like they're trying to reinvent the word perspective to have it be a catch-all for whatever BS excuse they want to make for actual observation from people who actually want to go out, do the work, do the math, and with their camera of choice.
Yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm putting this up on the screen now, and here's the problem with the fisheye. If you have that fisheye smack dab in the middle, and you have a curve, if you go below the line, the center line of the fisheye lens, it will curve the actual other way. It'll look concaved. Okay, so I had to have the horizon line above the center point, and I did that for this, and I showed both angles. Let me put the first one up there on the screen. You're not going to be able to see this, but everyone else can. And you can see that this is under 1,000 feet, and there's a curvature, of course, because it's above the line, and it's a fisheye lens. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show everyone the curvature at 90,000 feet with the horizon line matched up, so it's in the same spot on the GoPro. Because this thing was waving around in the wind, I had to go frame by frame till I got it in the same spot. Now, everybody can see that up on the screen. Now I'm going to go back, and I'm going to show everybody the first one, but it's going to have the line on it. Okay? That line was drawn right across the actual horizon line. Now I'm going to show the 90,000 foot with the line. Okay, now the next frame that everybody's going to see of the two combined, and you are going to see the difference. At 90,000 feet, you can actually see that the curvature is greater. The red line representing the 90,000 feet and the orange line representing under 1,000. Now, even in my defense, the orange line is slightly lower, meaning it should actually be flatter, but at the same time, of course, look at the difference of the red line and how much it's actually curved. It's unbelievable. You can actually see the difference. And guys, like I said, you can't see a huge curvature of the planet at 52,000 feet, but you can see one. I saw it with my own eyes when I was I was in a MiG-21 at 52,000 feet, and you could see. And there's no and the biggest argument that I have with this person is, he said, "Oh, the canopy that you're in distorts," and I'm like, "Are you kidding me? It's a fighter jet. Do you understand there can't be any distortion? Do you understand they're fighting, especially at the beginning of the Vietnam War? It was all line of sight. You can't have any distortion in that glass whatsoever." So that's up there, and I'm going to put a link to the actual video, you guys. This balloon was launched from North Texas, actually pretty close to the Red River, where everybody knows I hang out a lot. And I'm going to put a link in the notes. You guys can see this. And Red, if you want to take a look at this later on, you can go ahead and look at it also. And I'll put it in there. But like I said, I don't want to keep you too long. I know it's closing in on 11 o'clock where you are now. Any last words? And I'm going to make sure I give everyone a link to your stream so they can go ahead and subscribe to you, just as well. And I really appreciate you coming on. But if you want to give any last words on this topic while we're here.
Nope. The only thing that I would do is I'm going to do some shameless plugs. Be sure to subscribe to Sean Hufford. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more rocket launch footage. Also subscribe to AT2 Productions. Does a lot of good streams. Slice Strike is another good channel I would recommend subscribing to. And then after that, if you want to just keep up to date with what I'm doing before I actually go live on YouTube, that would be through Twitter. So follow me on Twitter if you want to keep up to date on that kind of stuff, and I'll be sure to update Twitter when I'm thinking about going live or about to do a live stream of a rocket launch. But that is pretty much it.
I sure do appreciate it, Red. Thank you so much for stopping in.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
You too. Okay, everybody. That was cool. Like I said, I've been a sub to Red for a little bit there. Little while anyway. Roy is the one that turned me onto that channel, and I am hooked. I am hooked. Very, very happy that I was able to get him in here to talk. It's always fun talking about this stuff, and you guys know how I am about the moon landing. Oh God, it's been. I think that's really what it is. I have been against the moon landing for so long. It is really tough for me to change gears. It's so difficult. And the more, yes, string news, yeah. Yeah, you think so? Was not 100% distortion free? Dude, it is a fighter jet. They fought line of sight. There could not be any distortion whatsoever in that canopy. I looked through that canopy while I was on the ground, and I was amazed. And that's what freaked me out mostly on that, okay? And I'm talking the string news. That's what freaked me out mostly. When you're flying at that altitude, literally from the shoulders down is the only thing that's covered by the plane. The rest, you feel like you are literally floating. Okay? And that glass had to be scrubbed clean. So that's what I have to say about that. Now, if I was on the ground looking through that canopy, I could have seen distortion. At an airport, planes flying overhead, I would have seen distortion. There was no distortion. And I looked at the corners, too. It's not like I was looking for evidence of distortion, but I'm an artist, guys. I see things. And if I see distortion in it, the way the canopies are designed, there is zero distortion in it. That's why they had to be that way. The dude talking was Red's Rhetoric. Okay, I am going to, Roy, if Roy's still here, please put a link to that in the show notes. Guys, what I'm going to, let me see if I can, I'm going to play a little bit of this video from that. And let's see here. And I'll just talk over it while it's playing. But like I said, this was launched, this is a great channel too, but this was launched in North Texas. And it's really, really, really great footage. Okay, and what I really like about this is the little medallion he had on there that was locked in so it could be within the camera view. So you knew what was coming, what was going on. Now you can see as that camera waves around in the wind, you can see the distortion flex. You can see it flatten out as it gets towards the center and get more distorted as it goes up towards the top. Yeah, you think Flat Earth is winning? That's almost funny. You missed your calling as a comic. You also missed how we basically just said we showed how the difference is. Do I have to go back and show that again with the footage? Yeah. So let me speed this up a little bit and get you guys. Okay, now we're we're getting up pretty high here. Again, the fisheye is causing a lot of distortion as it goes towards the top of the screen. It's going to be more distorted. Okay? Oh, Beaver, I'm going to have to check that out. Let me go ahead and bring this. Okay, that was where the balloon popped. Now this is at the highest altitude that it was at, 90,000 feet. Now, I'll show you the screen captures I took again, okay? Now, this is just as the balloon pops, but I will go back and show you the footage. Like I said, I'm going to put a link to this. Everybody will be able to go and see this. And of course, now it is going to fall back to Earth. It does deploy a parachute. Okay. Now, let's go back to this again. This is the 1,000-foot mark. Now, look where that horizon line is. Okay, and what I did was I took the same picture, or I should say a screenshot, at 90,000 feet where the horizon lines were lined up. Okay? So it would have the same amount of distortion. Okay, here it is at 90,000 feet. Did you see that? Same. The horizon lines are marked the same. I'm going to go back and forth and fade them. You can see this. Now, I'm going to put the one up there. This is with the curvature showing. Now, obviously, this is at 1,000 feet. You're not going to see curvature, of course. It's under 1,000 feet. This is the fisheye, okay? This is the fisheye lens showing you the curve. And I wanted to show you the difference of the curve with the horizon line the same, okay? Because, like I said, the camera was swinging around, so I had to go frame by frame to find it, okay? Here it is at 90,000 feet. Guys, there's no reason for that. Really? Come on. Okay, so there we go. There's the lines. That's the line at 90,000 feet. Horizon lines are the same. They're at the same. Okay, now watch. Now we're going to put them combined together. There is the difference. If there was no curvature at 90,000 feet, those curves would be almost identical. And there isn't. MD. Yeah. Look, this is mostly because I have someone that I talked to who's supposed to be here tonight, but I don't see him here. Said he was going to be here tonight. And this person believes the earth is flat. So that's why I'm doing this. That's, you know, like I said, Red was nice enough to come on the stream. So, yeah, this shows at 90,000 feet, of course. Yeah. You can see a curve. We do not live on a flat earth, people. I hope you understand that. Do not live on a flat earth. Really? Hey, Splurge, I showed you exactly the distortion of the fisheye lens and how with it in the same exact location it shows the curve. Okay? Get over it. It's what I do for a living. I'm a professional photographer. Graphic designer, professional photographer, and that's it. I don't know what else to tell you, buddy. So, yeah, it doesn't look like my buddy decided to come in here today because, you know, he was going to basically come in here and tell me how wrong I was. But it looks like he sent his buddies, or maybe he's in here in another Oh, my God. Stringer, are you kidding me? Did you just crap that line out of your mouth? Did that just come out of your mouth? Really? Did that just come out of you? Holy cow. Guys, like I said, for the longest time, for 40 years now, I haven't believed in that we went to the moon. And I have people on here constantly now trying to convince me that we've been to the moon. Because I really, really didn't see evidence. Tigger, we're not talking about girlfriends, okay? Oh, my God. Look, I showed you in the video the distortion and how it works. Right out of your mouth, huh? Oh, my God. Obviously, you came in too late, Stringer. Go back and watch the stream. Yeah. Okay, guys. It's 10 o'clock. I'm kind of surprised that I was able to actually get this thing going. Here's what I'm going to do. Let me see if I can get anybody. Guys, the ones that are in my stream Discord that we're starting up, if you want in on this conversation, you guys can go to that Discord. That Discord will eventually be opened up to this channel for people that want to come in and talk. And I've got it opened up now for the guys that are in there. I think Roy's in there right now. But Boulder, if any of you guys want to go in and have a conversation about this with me, I would love to get your input. Oh, Beaver, I've seen that footage over and over again. Over and over again. And that's the footage that has convinced me all this time that I don't think we've been there. Okay? Because when you speed it up to a normal speed, it drops like a box of rocks. It drops at the same. Yeah. It drops the same. So that was some of the biggest issues that I had until I saw the Buzz Aldrin footage of him jumping to that step on the rung on the ladder that had to be 5 feet up. Oh, really? How much did they pay me to do this? Oh, God, I wish I was making money, DJ. I wish I was making money. How much did they pay me to do this? Anyway, I'm gonna shut this down unless Sergeant, Boulder, or any of you guys want to go into the Discord and talk while I'm live here. You can talk onto the stream. I've got it hooked up. The dust, well, yeah, the dust, it didn't disperse like you would think it would do in less than at 6 times less gravity. That was really convincing to me. It didn't work like you'd think it would work. It dropped at the same. Look at the dust coming out of the dirt being shot out of the back of the speeder. Yeah, Boulder, that was insane though. Well, no, we saw the video footage. I don't know how high that was, but it was one hell of a jump, Boulder. And it would have been tough to make that in normal gravity. Okay, in that kind of a suit. I couldn't imagine him doing that. He hardly bent his knees to do it. Well, sure. Maybe it does, Beaver. I'm not sure. I just didn't know. I wouldn't imagine it would fall just as fast as it would on Earth and 6 times less the G-force here. But if you guys want me to continue talking about this, well, we can continue talking about it, and I can put here. Let's do this. If you guys want to do this, I'll put the phone number up on the screen. You guys can call in. We can talk about it on the phone. Okay? Maybe you guys can convince me one way or the other. Okay? I'm not worried about being convinced. If you guys can convince me that the Earth is flat, I welcome it. Don't think you're going to, but here we go. There it is. If you want to call and actually be logical and not be a complete horse's ass, there's the phone number. If you're going to call up and be a complete horse's ass, well, I'm just going to hang up on you. Hey, Mr. Spinning Balls, come back in this channel when you have a better name. I really don't want that kind of name in here. I don't know what the hell you think you are, but this is what you can do with your spinning balls. See, Zimmer? The boomer juice stance on the moon landing. I had Red's Rhetoric in here trying to convince me that we landed on the moon, and he had some interesting points. Like I said, it's okay. Let's see who we got here. Whoops. Well, I don't know what you hit. Trolls versus trolls. Yeah. It seems like that. Hey, if you want to call back in, whatever happened. So, yeah, if you want to call back, do so. For whatever reason, it cut off when I went to answer it. So. Oh, Steve, really? Twisted balls? Oh, that's funny. Yeah, if you want to call in again, go for it. Or maybe you heard me say that if you give me, if you want to just sit here and be a horse's ass. If you want to call in and try to convince me of one thing or another, please do so. Phone number's up on the screen. Well, Jerry Streeter, I'm pretty sure he thinks the same of you guys. I'm just saying. Hello, you're on the air.
Hey, what's up, man? This is News Now Ohio, man.
Hey, News Now Ohio. What's up? How's it going?
Hanging in there, man. Okay, so I'm watching your channel, and I was trying to get you to pull up a guy's channel, man. You got all these flat earthers in here that are trying to spew junk, saying how there's not one flat earth experiment that works. None.
Oh, I know that. I haven't seen one that works.
Right, but go to this channel, please. And he's got a whole series on flat tards, is what he calls them. And he does everything. He explains everything. Math. He does all the equations, everything. Gives the curvature of the Earth, the math for it, everything.
Well, I mean, the curvature of the Earth is 8 inches for every mile. We understand that. Well, it's approximately.
Well, he breaks it down for the slow people. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Cool,
okay.
It's called Cool Hard Logic.
Okay. Now, because I just made you a moderator, so you could go and post that when you get back in. If you want to do that, post that in the chat.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, he breaks it down. But if you pull that up and you can view one, and he's got a whole series on, and he calls it flat tars. And and he breaks everything down. He talks about the angle of the sun, you just got to really watch him, man. He does it with comedy and everything, man. He'll make you roll. You'll be rolling in your chair laughing.
Well, I mean, if you're are you talking about the angle of incidence with the sun angle?
He talks about everything.
Okay, because
he talks about the curve. He breaks everything down. He breaks down the angles. He breaks down the curve of the Earth, and he does it to where even like a fifth grader can understand it. You know what I'm saying? And so all these flat earthers like Mark Sargent. Have you ever watched that guy, that Mark Sargent guy?
No. I've watched a few of them, and it's kind of difficult because everyone has their made up. Yeah, they have their made up scientific methods of figuring this out, and every one of them can be debunked. That's the problem. I really I mean, if it's one or the other, I want someone to try to convince me, because I'm out here, I'm doing tests. I mean, like I said, how many of you guys have been up at 52,000 feet in an open canopy jet? If you haven't, I don't want to hear it.
They don't even have a working model. The flat earthers don't even have a working model.
Well, the model doesn't work. We've tested the model. It doesn't work.
Well, not only that, but they believe there's no such thing as gravity. Well, why does how do you explain the sun going around the Earth? How? How do they explain the sun going around the Earth? Is there a string tied to the sun, and there's a pole on the North Pole, and it just spins around on a string?
Well, I remember leaving from Logan Airport as the sun was going down, okay? and literally flying to California and chased the sun the whole way there. It had just broken the horizon and gone down. We got up in the plane. We landed in California with the sun still visible. Explain that to me.
Right. Oh, explain this. Have a flat earther explain this to you. Take a flat piece of paper. Take a flashlight. Shine the flashlight on the paper. The whole flat surface of that paper is bright.
Well, yeah, it's reflective lighting.
How
yeah.
is it dark? Right. So how is it daylight here and dark in China?
Yeah, well, they don't believe the sun disperses light. They believe it's a flashlight effect.
Yeah. They're just crazy, man. It just don't make no sense. Nothing they do. National Geographic did a test for the Flat Earth Society. I just watched it. It was on TV, and it was on one of them Nova brought it out, and they took on the biggest lake in the world. They got a boat and they painted these red lines on the boat or on a big board, and they took off. And as they went down across the lake, the stripes started to fade. You know, they started to disappear one line at a time.
Yep.
Until you couldn't see any more lines. And they tried to say that was atmospheric distortion.
Well, I mean, we know that gravity does bend light. We understand that. It can be proven. I mean, it's pretty obvious actually that your own eyeballs can prove that. But that's that's beside that. Like I said, I used when I flew in the MiG, I didn't really hear that people believed the Earth was flat at that point. We're talking 1999 when I flew in a MiG. So take that in now, and I'm like, wait a second. I remember seeing this, and I'm like, wow, because at 52,000 feet, it's not a blue sky above you anymore. It's pretty dark. It's it's almost jet black at that point. Almost, not quite, but close. Because you don't have the atmosphere turning, the reflective, light turning everything blue. It's the color spectrum's different. But I remember how clear and how freaked out I was at 52,000 feet because it felt like I was outside of this thing. It's different, and I've been at 47,000 in a jet, an L-1011 at 47,000 feet, and you kind of looked out the window and looked up, and it was dark up there, but everything's fisheyed out of the glass, and you don't have that feeling of being out there because you're looking through this little 1 foot by 8-inch hole.
Right.
But when you're in a full canopy jet where there's absolutely no distortion, okay, especially on the sides, there's no distortion on the glass, and you're looking out and you're seeing, you feel like you're Elton John's Rocket Man, okay, because you're like, This is as close as I know what it feels like to be in space. What the space shuttle guys and all the astronauts that have gone to the space station when they're hovering over the Earth, that's as close as I can get to that. Okay, and I'm never gonna go up any further. Obviously, I'm too old for that. But but still, it was an experience that I'll never forget. And when you see something with your own eyes, it's hard to go back and listen to someone say the Earth is flat.
Well, can they give any proof? You got a guy in the comment named Jerry that's like, he just said, "Oh, I'm just done teaching. You guys do your own research. I've done tons of research." Here's a couple of things I want to touch base on about it. Okay, one, they all say how NASA's a bunch of liars and all this? Do all these flat earthers realize that all the big countries in the world have a space agency? Do they realize the amount of people that would have to be in on this big lie to be lying about the Earth being around? Why would they do it? Do we pay some kind of round Earth tax that I don't know about? I mean, what do the governments have a reason? Give me one reason why they have to say the Earth is round and not flat. If the Earth was flat, why are all these people that work for all these space agencies, and I mean Blue Mirage, SpaceX, Virgin, all of them, because now we have all these, ever since the shuttle program shut down, all these private contractors are coming in the forefront trying to compete for the payloads to the ISS. What? So now all these private companies are in on the big lie.
Well,
the big
yeah. So I
conspiracy?
mean, that's what I'm getting at, and I want to answer Stringer News in there. Stringer, the last time I flew in an L-1011 was in '97, and when I looked up on the screen playing on, it would give you the jets, the speed of the jet and the altitude we were at. It said 46,950 feet, so that's why I just rounded up to 47. Whether or not they were wrong or not, I don't know. I can go by what I saw. I was in an L-1011, and inside that plane, on the big screen, it said our altitude was 46,900 plus feet. So, whatever you got there that says the ceiling of that plane is 42,000, that's fine. I can only go by what was being broadcast inside that.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of things that they say that what he's talking about is probably just a normal height for that. It doesn't mean that that's the max.
Well, no, I mean this L-1011. Like I said, I flew out of Logan on a L-1011, and that's the height that it was inside. Like I said,
right.
Inside the cabin. We were told that.
Right.
I've been higher I've been higher in a regular jet. Like I said, in a.
Right. Halo jumps jump as high up as 35,000 feet.
Yeah.
So.
And of course, they're full oxygen and everything. Those guys, yeah.
Right, exactly. So 35,000 people, all these flat earthers, they're trying. Like they got this big. One of their biggest arguments is there's a picture out somewhere of the Chicago scenery of downtown Chicago on the lake.
Yeah.
And they all try to say, how come there's no curvature? Look, you can see the buildings. But a lot of them don't realize that, for one, to take in the factor of that, the person on the boat that took the picture, you got to take in how high off of sea level he was. The height of the viewer is in that measurement. Not only that, but the whole bottom of that picture, you cannot see the base of any of them, the skyline. All the buildings in that picture, the bottoms of them are gone. You don't see the street level. You know what I'm saying? You see the bottom half of the bottom part of all them buildings are gone, and they're trying to. When they do the measurements, they do it all from sea level. They're not taking an effect. What if the man that was sitting on a boat that was 35 feet up in the off the water, and then he was standing up? He's another 6'4". You got to take all that into the measurements, and they're just going right off of sea level. There's so. They watched it at the National Geographic did that test for the flat earthers. They watched it. The flat earthers watched them stripes disappear one at a time.
Yeah.
The further it got away, and they still denied it.
If you have a chance, to go to Red's Rhetoric, there is a video that they did with a demonstration at sea level on the ocean, where they had a long, long straight bar, perfectly straight. And they had one on top of it with a space in the middle, and they had that sitting right on the horizon. And they sat back with a camera and they took a picture right within that space. And it was just a small opening, maybe a half an inch. And they took a picture of that space from a distance, and then they zoomed in on it. And up against that flat bar within that space, you could see a curvature on the horizon at ground level. Very faint, but you could actually see it. And what they did was they grabbed either side of the photograph and squished it and brought it together so you could see the curve was more distinct.
Yeah.
But it's still the same curve.
I was in the Sixth Fleet. I was on Dwight D. Eisenhower in the Navy. Mm-hmm. And believe me, I've watched other ships leave our fleet and go,
You were on the Eisenhower? Do you know your tour? The tour books you guys do every time you go out for 6 months?
What now?
The tour books that you guys do. I worked for the publishing company that made those. I made your Dwight D. Eisenhower tour book at one time.
Yeah, the Med tour book.
Well, yeah. Like I said, we did a lot of tour books. Yeah, I used to collect them. I had a bunch of them here at one time. It's Med tour is awesome. But now, I've sat and watched the plane, because I worked on the flight deck. Well, I worked in G3, which is a few floors down, but I was on the flight deck a lot because I was an aviation ordnanceman and I put missiles on the planes.
And so I was on the flight deck a lot. So I've watched ships leave our fleet and, sail away, and I've watched them disappear over the horizon. You know what I mean? They're there. I'm watching them go and go and go, and then all of a sudden they slowly disappear, and then they're gone from the bottom to the top. That tells me that there's a curve. You know what I mean? It would be different if they just got so far away I couldn't see them anymore. No, I was able to watch them with the binocs and watch them literally, disappear from the bottom all the way to the top, and then they're gone. That's a curve. I don't know why they think it's flat. I mean, Lord have mercy. The Romans knew it was flat 2,000 or around 2,000 years ago. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Enoch knew it was round. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I mean, it's, I don't know. I mean,
it's because they got to believe there's a conspiracy. Oh, it's got to be a conspiracy.
but I'm very, very susceptible to the same thing because I investigate a lot of lies that our government says. I love digging into that.
Me and my wife both believe that we've been to the moon, just not in '69.
Oh, okay. When did you think?
I don't think that we went in '69.
When did you think we went there?
We was in a Cold War with we was in who was the best country, Russia or America?
Yeah.
Russia had a jump on us in the space program. They already had a man in outer space. Blah, blah. They were going to beat us, and we faked that shit so that we were the better country. We beat Russia, and I believe wholeheartedly that's what happened in '69.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that that's why, they said, oh, let's just lie and say we went to the moon and we beat Russia. It'll boost the morale of the Americans, blah, blah, blah. But I do know that I 100% believe we've been to the moon since.
Yeah.
But just not in '69.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Were you on the channel when I had Joe Talks on here discussing the Van Allen belt and all that? It was a couple of weeks back. Were you on the
No, I missed that one. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, there's still a lot of questions I have about the moon. Any moon visit. I mean, the Van Allen radiation belt's a big issue. You know what I mean? But I mean, that's another reason why I don't believe we went in '69. We just didn't have the technology to go. I don't believe we did. But I don't know.
Well, I mean, I've had this discussion too about the technology. You have to understand too, because the charged particles, I don't think our current computers, and I just had this conversation with Roy earlier, I don't think our current computers can handle going through that zone with all the charged particles. I think it would destroy it. But we pretty much went to the moon on analog back then. I mean, we have more computing power in our phone than they had on the entire capsule.
Right.
So if we went there, it was only analog, and that could easily go through it. I just don't know how the film went through it. That's all.
Right. I don't know how the astronauts went through it.
Well, I mean, it's charged particles is a little different than radiation, and this is what I would say. Go back and listen to the stream with Joe Talks, because, like I said, he went through the Air Force Academy. I mean, I just know, I can't say what he's done for them, but he's a whiz. Okay, so he's, you know what I mean?
I'll go watch it for
so
sure.
he describes it in a way that I understood it a lot better, because the Van Allen belt was the thing that I was wondering about for years, and now they're saying, oh, we can't have we can't get through the Van Allen belt now. Well, I think it's because of our computer technology. Back then, if we're just going to throw a capsule through there, I don't think it would be an issue as much. No.
Right, I agree. I mean, that does make sense. I never thought about it like that. With it being with the analog, I mean, that's a lot less sophisticated. It's more basic, and I can see the charged particles not messing with that as like it would our computers. You know what I mean?
Sean, the amount of lead shielding they had was very minimal. I mean, if you're talking about shielding from radiation, it takes 5 feet of lead to shield from radiation, and obviously that's not going to happen. But it's, the way it was explained to me, it was different. It wasn't radiation. Boulder can probably explain it the same way. It's a charged particle. It's a lot different. It's not this extremely deadly radiation. If you sat in it for a long time, of course, it would mess you up. But
hey, hey, Steve, please go home when you're done, when you get a chance. Please go to that Cool Hard Logic.
Yeah, I will.
If you have a hard time finding him, he's also got another series that he does on it that he did on his videos. It's called World of Batshit, and he talks about these batshit crazy people who think the Earth is flat, who think there's no gravity. He talks about religion. He talks about everything, man. But he really busts these flat. He calls them flat tards, and he's got me calling them flat tards now because. Well,
I mean, like I said, I mean, when it comes to arguing the whole flat Earth thing, I can just go off. I can go off basic stuff, and I can go off stuff that I've done myself. I mean, I don't sit there and dwell on flat Earth 24/7. It really doesn't deserve that much of my time.
It doesn't, right?
But you know, like I said, the moon landing has really occupied my mind for about 40 years now. So.
Right. Yeah, I've done a couple of streams on flat Earth, and stuff, and there's, I mean, everybody's entitled to believe what they want.
Of course, yeah, like I said, they can do what they want.
Please, I mean, if you're gonna try to argue a point with me, please bring some kind of freaking intelligent conversation into it. Don't just tell me that everything I throw at you that are mathematical equations, that's proven mathematical equations and things like that, and the angle of the sun, that's proof, and everything that's a proven scientific proof. Don't tell me that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. That don't exist. That don't exist. That I can pick up a can of pop and let it go and drop it on the floor.
Yeah.
And it falls because of gravity. It's not falling because the flat Earth is moving up at a certain mile per hour. It's just continually moving up. And that's what flat earthers believe. They believe that the Earth is continually moving upwards through space. That's what they think. And that's why when you drop something, it falls on the ground. Yeah, that's what they believe. And the rate of the speed, the rate that you drop something and the rate that it falls to the floor, that's the rate of upward motion the Earth is doing constantly now. I mean, I guess there's a never-ending thing with, there's no end to it. We just continually forever fly upwards. I mean, it just blows my mind the shit they say. But, but I'll let somebody else call in for you.
Okay, man. Hey, I made you a mod, so put that link in the chat if you can. Okay, man.
All right, I'll go do it. I'll go get it right now and put it in, man.
I appreciate it.
All right, man. Later.
Ugh. Well, Boulder, do you want to call in, buddy? I know there's a serious lag time because of the way I started the stream, and I'm going to have to go back and clip it a little bit because I think I went live halfway through the introduction. So, yeah, this is going to be interesting on the playback. Oh, well. And if I clip any part of the video off, I'm going to lose the entire live chat. So I really don't want to clip it. Oh, no. Oh, my God. It's my favorite cuck from Canuck. What's up, man?
I see your fucking flat earth and round earth theory, and I raise you donut theory. That's far more delicious.
Donut theory. Okay, so the earth is a donut?
Yeah, that's a far more delicious theory.
Oh, my God.
I'll give you one guess who this is.
I don't know. What do you want to talk about? I mean, I'm in the middle of this conversation, what we're talking about. Stringer, if you think you're going to set me straight on optics to save your time, I live in optics. Whether I'm taking photography, doing video, or shooting long distance. Okay? Which, guess what? When I shoot long distance, I have to deal with Earth's spin. Shooting east to west and west to east. I deal with optics all the time. Okay? So if you want to school me, okay, have fun. So I want to talk to Kyle about donut theory because that sounds more delightful. I don't eat donuts, but it sounds better.
Well, it is. It does sound better because it's delicious.
Okay, so what does Canada know about donuts?
This is Kyle, by the way.
What's that?
This is Kyle, by the way.
I know it's Kyle.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah,
I said it's my favorite cuck from Canuck.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I got shitty reception. Yeah, flat Earth is, here's my theory, is that, like, I'm never going to be able to tell, because all of your shit that you show, unless I go up in your damn plane, which I really don't want to be up that high, yeah, I'm probably never going to figure it out. So, most of this is just calling to say hi, because, you know, I do this now.
Kyle, are you home yet?
No, I'm actually almost at Inspector's house.
So am I to believe that the road hazard known as Kyle Kavanaugh is still in the States?
You goddamn right I am.
Oh my God, you're still here in the States? I mean, I understand your truck broke down, but it's fixed. Just
yeah. Yeah. I said New York City or but. And I am going to New York City.
Okay.
No fucking broken truck is keeping me fat. And in fact, I'm close enough that I can fucking hitchhike now. So, this fucking Canuck will not be defeated by your country tonight, sir. But I will say this. You guys are incredibly friendly down here because I broke down in Minnesota last week and freaking you guys took me in and met just because they're Minnesota nice and all that. But yeah, you guys took me in and like didn't let me die, which was very, very much appreciated because I am opposed to that whole thing. All dying. But yeah, mostly just called in to say hi. Playing Philly on Saturday.
Okay, you're playing in Philly, and then you're on to New York City?
Yes, I am. I will be playing Friday night.
Okay, anybody who hasn't connected with Kyle Kavanaugh's stream, please do so. Great musician. He's actually going to be recording here. You better be recording here in November. He's supposed to be here in November. He damn well better get his Canuck ass down here so we can do some recording in the studio.
It's going to be great. We're going to do a live stream.
Yes, we are. And we're going to get demonetized and copyright struck and all that because we're going to be playing music.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be great. I can't wait to get a copyright strike.
Yeah, on my stream. Yeah, well, I'll just kill the stream when it's done, but it'll definitely be hit. I mean, I do a couple of songs in here, and then I get hit immediately, so should be interesting anyway.
Oh, it happens to me every single time. Every single time. Every time I do a stream, I get about 13 emails saying, you got a copyright strike.
Do you even bother fighting them?
No, I just keep doing it. Fuck you. I'm a fucking play these songs. If you don't like it, you can suck my dick. It's called Theatrical. Yeah. Fucking, we didn't need the song and stuff. But yeah, I'm excited to come down to Texas and record with you and do some live streams and get a copyright strike for you. That'll be my honor. I will be
yeah, I haven't gotten a copyright strike since I got monetized, so we'll see what happens.
I would be overjoyed to break that barrier with you.
Okay, there you go. If we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it well. Okay, we are gonna get copyright struck very well. Okay.
Fucking it. First song, Hotel California. Gets me a copyright strike every single time.
And I'll do an Elton John song, so that'll be hit immediately.
Yeah. Really, anything by like Queen or Guns N' Roses. That should get us good. You know? It's going to be great. But anyways, I'm about like 3 to 5 miles away from the stuff, so I'm going to let you go. You mind if I do a quick plug on my website?
Go for it, man. They've already put links to your stuff in there, but do your website. Yeah, do everything.
All right, it's KyleCavanaughMusic.net. You guys should definitely check it out. I will be posting pictures of the tours and videos and all of that when I get home, including the videos of me fixing my truck, and which honestly I seem to be becoming a part-time mechanic.
That sounds awesome.
It will be. It will be. And, yeah, I'll be doing a live stream tomorrow. And, yeah. Please tune in.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Brendan. You're awesome.
Thank you. Okay. Look at that. I think Zimmer got triggered. So... Oh man, it's getting late. I think I'm going to call this one, guys. Then I got to go figure out where the stream actually started. I think it started in the middle of the introduction, because it's not the way normal OBS started it, is how I had to do it today. I actually had to go to the production room in the live section of YouTube, and then connected it has a different key, so I had to plug that key into OBS and then hit the stream live, and it was showing that it was doing it, but it seemed like it didn't go live until I hit live within the room, which I normally don't have to do that. Normally when I go from OBS and hit live, like I said, I just did it differently this time, so not exactly sure how the stream's going to look. I can't have a stream on a flat surface. MD. Well, my table is very flat, just so you know. I wonder what speaking of, Kyle's going to be here in November, so I'm wondering what it would take to get a copyright strike. Like how many notes I would have to play from a song to get a copyright strike. Like if I was to lean over and just play like one set of chords from Elton John's Rocket Man. Like if I was to do that, I wonder if I'm going to get a copyright strike now. No, I'm not going to play any music right now. I just wondered if it would give me a copy. You think it's 15 seconds? Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm not going to do that. I'll end up having to cut it out. Brian, what are you talking about with the snipers and all that? Are you talking about the Coriolis effect? Pastor Jack, I know you've been in there, man. I see you. Pastor Jack said he was going to come over here and live. I saw that. What were you talking about, Brian? Oh, what if the earth was round? Oh, okay. Like a dinner plate? Oh, truth be told, if it was round like a dinner plate, when you looked at the horizon, it would look round, wouldn't it? Just saying. Not to play devil's advocate here, but just saying. You can strike that tune in 6 notes, Pastry. Okay. Hey, wait a second, Ken. Wait a second, TV Gunberry. No. Don't be trashing Elton John, man. As a piano player, I like Elton John's music. Atheist Rex? I don't know, man. But all I did, I was in a guy's stream by the name of Flat Earth Forum, and all I did in his stream was say, hey, man, I was in a jet at 52,000 feet, and it looked really round. You could see the curvature, and I got called a liar, no good this, and that, and it was pretty awful. Man, as much as I want to, Zimmer, I can't have that on there, man. I'm trying to keep my streams monetized the best I can. Those are words you can't use. Just say he's flamboyant. We know what you're talking about. Call him a fanoich. Speak in a different language. Maybe you'll get away with it. I don't know. Oh, you never said he wasn't a good pianist. No, his music is awesome. Look, Ken, you got to admit, his music is awesome. Just saying. Yeah, sure, String. I become a pro because I've been doing it. I've been a professional photographer as I do this for a living for over 20 years now. Okay, so whatever you want to talk about. I do it for a living. I'm a senior graphic designer at an ad agency, and I've been doing that for 20 plus years now. Okay, I know what I'm talking about. I deal with it on a regular basis. Okay? Scream all you want in the chat. Whatever. Enjoy yourself. Oh, really? That's like his worst song. And you picked that one, Ken? Really? Come on, man. Oh, that's it. Just because of that, Ken, I'm closing this out. Oh. Yeah, Brian, you didn't talk to him, but I did. Just whatever. I don't even know what you guys are talking about with the snipers and all that. If you're talking about the Coriolis effect when you're shooting east to west and west to east, and how shooting east to west, the bullet doesn't drop as much as shooting west to east, that kind of thing. And it only happens at around 1,000 yards and slightly longer, I mean, it starts to happen around 1,000 yards. Oh, now, Brian, you're, yeah, really, just you asked a question. Oh, my God, really? Someone called you that, Brian? Really? Oh, I'm so closing this show out now. This is done. Done deal. Oh, my God, I'm so closing this out. It needs to end. I'm tired. Man, I tell you, everything that was happening in this stream earlier, trying to get it started when we had the system crash, it just took everything out of me. It's like 25 minutes of running around, rebooting over and over again. I actually had to restart the whole damn computer. Don't know what happened. But guess what? News Now Ohio, thank you so much for stopping in, man. Thanks a lot for that link. 1,000 yards, really? 8 inches every mile, Zimmer. 8 inches every mile squared. That's the curvature. 3,000 feet is not a mile. You're not going to have anything like that, although it does affect the bullet placement. Guys, I'm out of here. Well, DJ, that is your opinion. And look, I love all kinds of opinions. That's why I have a bunch of different people come on this stream. Hey, yeah, guys, make sure you check out Pastor Jack's stream. Everybody, God, there's so many people in here that have streams. Try to check them all out, guys. We'll be back tomorrow night. Cigar stream. Oh, it's a globe.